Once upon a time, in a small town nestled between hills, there lived a woman named Maya who had recently married her husband, Arjun. They were deeply in love, and their life together was filled with joy. Arjun's mother, Sita, was a widow who lived alone in the ancestral family house. From the moment Maya married into the family, Sita was eager to share the traditions of their home, especially through food. Sita was known for her cooking, and the community praised her culinary skills. Her dishes, rich in spices and flavors, were a legacy passed down through generations. Maya admired her mother-in-law's skills and was excited to learn from her. However, something strange began to happen whenever Maya ate Sita's food. The first incident occurred during a family dinner, a few weeks after the wedding. Sita had prepared a lavish feast to welcome Maya. As everyone sat down to eat, Maya felt a strange unease settle in her stomach after the first few bites. She pushed through, thinking it might be nerves, but as the meal progressed, she began to feel faint. Her head spun, and her stomach churned violently. She excused herself and barely made it to the bathroom before becoming violently ill. Arjun rushed to her side, worried. Sita, too, expressed concern, but they all assumed it was a case of food poisoning or something she ate earlier in the day. Maya brushed it off, though she felt puzzled. She had never had issues with food before. But then it happened again. And again. Every time Maya ate something prepared by her mother-in-law, she became sick. The symptoms were always the same: nausea, dizziness, stomach cramps, and then the inevitable vomiting. At first, she tried to hide it, fearing she might offend Sita. But it soon became impossible to keep a secret. Arjun noticed that Maya would only fall ill after eating his mother's cooking, and even Maya, who loved Sita's food, started to avoid meals at her house. This pattern continued for weeks, then months. Desperate to solve the mystery, Maya visited several doctors, but none could explain her condition. They ran countless tests: food allergies, gastrointestinal issues, and even psychological evaluations, but everything came back normal. The doctors were baffled, and so was Maya. She began to dread family dinners, excusing herself whenever Sita invited them over. This, of course, began to strain her relationship with Sita. Sita was a proud woman. She took great pride in her cooking, and Maya's sudden avoidance of her meals didn't go unnoticed. At first, Sita was understanding, believing Maya's health to be more important. But as time went on, she started to take it personally. Rumors spread through the family, suggesting that Maya might be rejecting Sita's food as a form of subtle defiance. Some relatives whispered that Maya was trying to drive a wedge between Arjun and his mother. These whispers planted seeds of doubt in Sita's mind. Maya, torn between her desire to mend the growing rift and the fear of becoming sick again, decided to confront the issue head-on. One evening, after another disastrous attempt to eat a small meal prepared by Sita, she and Arjun sat down to discuss it. Arjun, ever supportive, believed in Maya's intentions but was equally confused. They couldn't understand why Maya's body would react this way to Sita's food and no one else's. Maya suggested they see an expert, a holistic healer who was known for addressing unusual health issues in the region. Although skeptical, Arjun agreed, and they visited the healer a few days later. The healer, an old woman with deep knowledge of herbs and ancient remedies, listened carefully to Maya's story. After a long silence, she asked Maya a question that no one had asked before. "Tell me, child, how do you feel about your mother-in-law?" Maya was taken aback. She insisted that she had no ill feelings toward Sita, that she respected her deeply and wished to be closer to her. But the healer pressed on, asking about Maya's emotions before and after she ate Sita's food. Eventually, Maya admitted that despite her admiration, she often felt anxious around her mother-in-law. She feared judgment, as Sita was an accomplished cook and homemaker, while Maya was still finding her footing. This anxiety, it seemed, was something Maya had not fully acknowledged. The healer explained that the body is deeply connected to the mind and spirit. Sometimes, physical reactions can be triggered by emotional tensions, even if they are unspoken. The healer believed that Maya's illness was not caused by the food itself but by an underlying emotional conflict, anxiety, insecurity, or an unspoken fear of not living up to her mother-in-law's expectations. It was possible that Maya's body was manifesting these feelings through illness whenever she ate Sita's food, the most intimate offering of a mother to her son's wife. Arjun and Maya left the healer's house with much to think about. While the explanation seemed far-fetched, something about it resonated with Maya. She realized that every time she sat down to eat Sita's food, she felt the weight of her mother-in-law's silent expectations, the pressure to be the perfect wife and daughter-in-law. This pressure, whether real or imagined, had built up over time, manifesting physically. Determined to heal the rift, Maya decided to address the issue directly with Sita. She approached her mother-in-law one afternoon and, with great humility, explained what she had learned from the healer. It wasn't the food that made her sick, it was the fear of not living up to Sita's standards, the pressure she placed on herself to be perfect in Sita's eyes. Sita was quiet for a long time. Then, to Maya's surprise, she began to cry. Sita admitted that she, too, had been anxious about their relationship. After the death of her husband, she had invested much of her identity in being a mother and a homemaker. She feared losing her son's affection and felt insecure about her place in the family with Maya in the picture. The food she had prepared, which was meant to welcome and nurture Maya, had become a symbol of her own need for validation. In that moment of shared vulnerability, the tension between them began to dissolve. They talked for hours, airing unspoken fears and misunderstandings. Over time, Maya and Sita rebuilt their relationship on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. The next time Maya ate Sita's food, she did so without fear or anxiety. And for the first time in months, she did not fall ill. As the weeks passed, the bond between Maya and Sita deepened. Their newfound openness allowed them to understand each other in ways they hadn't before. Sita, feeling a weight lifted off her shoulders, began to embrace Maya as more than just her daughter-in-law. She saw her as an equal and a confidant. Maya, in turn, started to appreciate the subtleties of Sita's personality, her quiet strength, her resilience as a widow, and her deep love for Arjun. Instead of feeling judged, Maya now saw the care that went into everything Sita did, especially her cooking. She even began to join Sita in the kitchen, learning the family recipes that had once intimidated her. Together, they spent hours preparing meals, laughing, and exchanging stories. The once mysterious illness became a distant memory. With the emotional barrier removed, Maya not only grew to enjoy Sita's cooking but also began experimenting with her own versions of the recipes, which Sita encouraged. They shared tips, flavors, and traditions, turning the kitchen into a space of connection rather than competition. But just as things seemed to settle into a new, harmonious routine, another challenge emerged, one that neither of them had anticipated. One evening, after a particularly joyful family dinner, Maya noticed Sita looked unusually pale and tired. Brushing it off as the exhaustion of the day, Sita assured everyone she was fine. But as days went by, her energy seemed to dwindle. She began losing her appetite, something Maya had never seen before in the woman known for her love of food. Worried, Maya convinced Sita to see a doctor. After several tests, they received news that shook the family. Sita was diagnosed with a serious illness. The disease had been progressing quietly, unnoticed, and now required immediate attention. Arjun was devastated, and the news left Maya feeling helpless. The woman who had nurtured her, who had shared so much of herself, was now facing a battle of her own. But instead of crumbling under the weight of the diagnosis, Maya found a strength she didn't know she had. Determined to take care of Sita as she had once cared for her, Maya threw herself into supporting her mother-in-law through the difficult treatments that followed. She took over the household duties and the cooking, ensuring that Sita was comfortable and well-nourished, even though Sita's appetite had diminished. The roles had reversed. Maya now spent hours in the kitchen, preparing small, light meals to coax Sita into eating. The same dishes that had once made Maya sick were now made with Maya's own hands, filled with the love and care she had once struggled to express. She blended herbs and spices with the same precision Sita had taught her, hoping to bring some comfort to her mother-in-law. Though Sita's illness was physically draining, the emotional bond between her and Maya continued to grow stronger. Sita found solace in Maya's presence, and they spent long afternoons talking, reflecting on life, and even laughing at the absurdity of how their relationship had started, with Maya getting sick from Sita's cooking. As the months passed, Sita's condition fluctuated. Some days were better than others, and Maya was always by her side. The family, once fractured by misunderstandings, became closer than ever. Arjun, seeing the strength and compassion his wife showed, was overwhelmed with gratitude. In time, Sita's health slowly began to stabilize, though she was not as strong as she once had been. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, and while there was no guarantee of a full recovery, Sita's spirit was lifted by the love and support she received from Maya and the family. She regained enough strength to occasionally join Maya in the kitchen, offering advice or simply sitting nearby, watching Maya cook the dishes she had once mastered. One evening, as the family gathered for a quiet dinner, Sita turned to Maya and said, "You know, I never thought I'd say this, but your food tastes better than mine now." Everyone laughed, but Maya knew the depth of that compliment. It wasn't just about the taste of the food, it was about everything they had been through together, the misunderstandings, the healing, and the transformation of their relationship. The illness that had once plagued Maya every time she ate her mother-in-law's food had vanished, replaced by a love and respect that no one could have predicted. What had begun as a story of physical sickness had evolved into a journey of emotional healing, understanding, and ultimately, a profound bond between two women who learned to see each other beyond their roles. Years later, when Sita passed away peacefully in her sleep, Maya stood in the kitchen, preparing one of her mother-in-law's favorite dishes. The kitchen, once a place of anxiety and pressure, had become a sanctuary of love and memory. As Maya stirred the pot, the familiar smells filled the house, and she smiled, knowing that Sita's legacy lived on, not just in the recipes, but in the love they had shared and the lessons they had learned together. In the end, the story of Maya and Sita wasn't just about food or illness, it was about the quiet power of connection, the ways people heal each other, and the beautiful, unexpected transformations that love can bring.